Hello everyone, hope everybody's doing great today. Appreciate those of you who watch this video. I hope you enjoy it. And also, I'd like to thank those of you who have subscribed. Thank you very much. Hopefully you've been enjoying listening to these talks about these movies, the good movies, the bad movies, the mediocre movies. Thank you very much. And like always, if you already seen this movie, leave some comments below. Interested in hearing, not hearing, but reading your thoughts about these movies and enjoying the conversations that I've had in the past with those of you who have written stuff in the comments below. Thank you very much. So let's talk about Goldfinger, starring Sean Connery today, good old 007. To me, this is when James Bond starts to become more of a fantasy spy movie than the previous two. The previous two were pretty realistic. The fantasy stuff was held to a minimum. But here, we start to see a little bit more fantasy, a little bit more fantasy in these movies. Stuff that's not really realistic happening. Starts to become more prominent in the James Bond movies. That's my personal opinion. I'd like to hear your opinions below. There's still some James Bond movies after this one that are pretty realistic. But from here out, you get to see a little bit more far-fetched stuff. For example, in Goldfinger, you have a guy who's throwing a hat at people, killing people with their hat. I'm imagining what they're trying to say is that the rim of his hat is blades. I guess that's what they're trying to say, but it's still kind of ridiculous. Somebody throwing a hat around me. Come on, who throws a hat? To quote Austin Powers. I quote Austin Powers all the time for these James Bond reviews for some reason. When he has the guy throwing a shoe, he's like, hey, who throws a shoe? Seriously, who throws a hat around? But, we have that. It's kind of far-fetched. And then we have the scene where they're trying to cut James Bond in half with a laser. And then I'm pretty sure the happening with, what's his face? Anyways, the happening, where nature is killing people with its pollen. Kind of got like a happening scene in this one where they're in these, is it an airplane or something? Helicopters. Anyways, they're spilling gas out from the helicopters or airplanes. I can't remember which one now. And then everybody's falling asleep or dying, either or, from this gas coming out of these airplanes or helicopters. And it's like wide open outside, and everybody's breathing this stuff in and getting knocked unconscious. I was like, what the heck, man? It's kind of like the happening to me. But that's stuff like that I'm trying to say. Overall, though, that's the fantasy stuff. Overall, Goldfinger is a pretty good movie, all right? It's a pretty good James Bond movie. Still, out of the first three, my favorite is From Russia with Love. That's a very good James Bond movie. Fantastic. And this one, a little bit below that one, a little bit of a letdown. But overall, it's still pretty decent. I'm going to be talking about a lot of negative things about Goldfinger, though. However, the stuff that don't hold up. At the beginning here, we have a big pool scene where you can tell they're filming on location. And boy, does that whole hotel look fantastic. I would love to visit the hotel. Imagine what it looks like today, considering it's probably about, 60 years old now. But back then, it looked fantastic. Had a nice diving board, nice swimming pool, nice weather. So that looks great. But you can really tell that the scenes where they're talking are done on a stage, and then they're like using a screen behind them to show the environment going on around them is completely on the screen, and that they're not even on location when they're doing the dialogue. It kind of takes you away from the movie. I don't know how it felt like back then when it came out on the big screen. If you're somebody who's seen it on the big screen, let me know. Did it look like they were there at that hotel? Because watching it all these years later, you can clearly tell that they're not on location when they're doing their dialogue. And then you have a good car chase where the wide shots are fantastically done. It looks the car chase was very well choreographed and very well filmed. But then when you have the close-up shots, you can clearly tell that they're not on location, or he's in a car and you got a screen behind them. I pointed that out in Dr. No. It really sticks out in this movie. It's not as done as well as it was in Dr. No, at least in my opinion. Maybe it's done the same quality, but I feel like the quality in that kind of dropped a little bit. Kind of took me out of the element of the movie, but it is what it is. I understand why they did it. But, it kind of hurts the quality of the film. Maybe you should have kept the widescreen on the car chase as a widescreen instead of getting close in onto James Bond throughout the chase and such, because it does kind of take you out of that universe, and it gets kind of noticeable, like, hey, you know, he's not really driving that car. But, you know, stuff like that. I'm looking at my notes here. I got a lot of I wanted to say, but those were the two big ones I wanted to point out. And then, you know, you always got the great women names, the Bond girls' names. So this one, you got Pussy Galore. I'm not really sure how they were able to say that there. Basically, the 1960s. I guess the 1960s was a little bit liberal. I don't see you being able to say, name your character Pussy Galore in the 40s or 50s, right? But, you know, in a way, James Bond is kind of like a sexual fantasy. In a way, with these kind of names, you know, the kind of sexual graphic names, you know, you would probably imagine that name being in an X movie. Not the X-Men, but, you know, the rated X movies out there. But, you know, you get a lot of those kind of names in the Bond movies. And that's, like I said, kind of feeds into my theory, my opinion, that this is the movie where the Bond goes more into spy fantasy and then just trying to keep it realistic, to really letting it flow out there, getting it, you know, letting it flow out there, whatever comes in their mind, just put it out there on the screen, even though it's realistically probably impossible. Let's just go with it. I'm not saying the name Pussy Galore is an impossible name in real life. I'm just saying the other stuff, right? Overall, though, I think Sean Connery does another wonderful job playing James Bond. I can see why he's the favorites of a lot of people in that role. It seems like every role he just gets better at it. From my little research that I do on these movies, this is the first time he did actually wear a toupee. Even though he wasn't bald, he's getting kind of thin. I'm getting kind of thin back there right now, to say, but because I got this hair up front, you can't tell because I'm back here in the back. Anyways, I'm not completely bald yet. I don't know. Anyways, enough about my baldness. The movie is good, though. It is a pretty good James Bond movie. Out of the three I've watched, I've seen, like, I guess I should go back because not everybody's seen all my videos. I've seen probably 95% of the James Bond movies. It's been a long time since I've seen the first three movies. I'll probably only see them once or twice before I'm in rewatching them. But it's probably been a good while since I've seen them before. So going through them, and they're basically like a new movie to me because it's been such a long time seeing these older ones. The Pierce Brosnan ones are the ones I'm more familiar with because my wife loves Pierce Brosnan. She loves James Bond. And Pierce Brosnan's probably her favorite one, so we're always watching those. And she likes Roger Moore, so I've seen a lot of Roger Moore movies a lot. And she doesn't really like Sean Connery, so I haven't really seen those very much. Anyways, Sean Connery does great. You can see why he is a lot of people's favorite Bond in these movies. And I feel like he gets better with each movie as the Bond character. The first one was a little shaky, but the second one, really good. This one, you know, he's really familiar with the role now. He really gets all the actions down, how he wants to portray the character in certain situations. He does a fantastic job doing that. Overall, the storyline was pretty good. Was decent. You know, just some guy trying to get all the gold out of Fort Knox and trying to rob Fort Knox, basically. You know, turns people into gold, right? Like I said, he doesn't really turn them to gold. He paints them gold. Anyways, pretty good movie. That's my complaints I had about it. I didn't really say anything of the highlights because I don't really have very much stuff I really loved about this movie. I guess like anything, like I was like, man, that was fantastic. I really liked this scene and how this was portrayed, unlike From Russia with Love. But I saw like a lot more negative stuff in this one, like what I already pointed out. So out of three, I think this might be the worst one. And then, you know, it doesn't go back to the guy and the cat. You don't really talk about Spectre very much in this one. So it's kind of like an offshoot. Anyways, at least I don't remember it talking about like that. I could I could be misremembering the movie, but I don't remember Spectre being brought up in this one. If it was, I'm sorry, I missed that part. Anyways, 10 minutes on this one. Hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know your comments below. Do you like Goldfinger? Where's your Goldfinger at in the filmography of James Bond? Is it one of your favorites? Is it one of your least favorites? Is it just a movie, you know, in between, not great, not bad? It's just an average, just your common James Bond movie, I guess you can say. Anyways, have a great day, and thank you very much. Bye.